Each team has at least one win in the Fanatically Real Redraft. The Banshees region is back on top of the power rankings. We have two teams still looking to get a win in the APFL. All of this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, the official apparel of the FSA. So we've got two whole people out there. Whoever you are, please say hi to us so we don't feel so lonely. In fact, I'm not actually lonely here tonight. I've got a little helper in the studio with me. I'm just not going to let her get on camera with me tonight. I asked her if she could be quiet for a whole 35 minutes while Daddy does the show. And she says she's not sure if she can or not. Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Hey, I think I'm gonna be on post tomorrow. Let me know what you're up to. Maybe I can swing by and see you. Jason, what's going on, brother? Hopefully you're having a better day today than you've been having. Hey, so not a lot of NFL news tonight. There might be some stuff that you all can hit me with that I wasn't privy to. I know Geno Smith went out for a little bit. I asked about it in Discord earlier today, but it looked like from what I read, he came back into the game. So probably no harm, no foul, other than he's a little upset about did you see? I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's supposed to actually show something or if it's actually a pink hand waving at me. What's going on, brother? So if you guys got any NFL news, throw it at me. But right now I've got nothing for you. It looks like Geno's just more upset about possibly a dirty hit, which I still haven't seen the hit. I actually did not stay awake for Monday Night Football. Got me some well-needed rest on Monday night. But so what we are going to do, though, is we are going to talk about the redraft games of the week. We're going to talk about the redraft power rankings, talk about the games of the week in the APFL, the APFL power rankings, and also have a new graphic for you as well for the game of the week for week 5, which we're getting ready to go into for both the redraft and the APFL. Sounds good. I'm not sure when I'm going to be there because I was going to go in uniform, which means I have to shave. I need to get a haircut, but I don't even know if I should be in uniform with my hair this long, honestly. I mean, it's touching the ears, so I'm not sure. Baker Mayfield is doing better than Deshaun Watson. I'm glad that I've got him on my redraft team, except for, unfortunately, he's on bye this week, so I'm stuck with starting Mac Jones instead. Paul says, finish dinner early enough to get on here live. Paul, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad you're here. All right, so let's talk about these redraft games of the week. And I will start off by saying we didn't really have a whole lot of margin of victory games this week in any of the regions. I think we had one, and we're going to discuss it. I think it was in the Lynx region all the way at the end. So what we are going to talk about, though, is at least here in the Banshees region, the huge win by the Ottawa Valley Coffee Espresso Men, who scored 225 points this week, which was the most points scored in all of the redraft. Him putting the hurting on Sean. Final score there was 225 to 141. Here are your current standings in the Banshees region. The OVC Espresso Men being only one of 2 teams still left undefeated in all of the redraft. Check out here in the Damien, what's going on, brother? I hope you are well as well. Yeah, and if the woe was for the 225, that's a lot of points scored in a week. NFL is in shambles with these injuries and absent-minded calls by the coaches, and I would say some probably absent-minded non-calls by the officials, as I was watching some highlights from the last week's game, especially between the Kansas City and the Jets game. OVC in the house. Oh, no, stop. Are you serious? Like, are you in the hospital for that? Or this is, like, not for real? You're just being facetious, figuratively? I'm not sure what word I'm supposed to use in that spot. While we're waiting to find that out, let's move over to the Black Dragons region, where the New Carolina Reapers put up the most points in this region with their win over Marcus Johnson. Final score there was 204 to 134. Here are your standings right now in the Black Dragons region. One of the things I will say is, and I'm pretty sure I looked at this earlier and I forgot to put a note of this, we don't have a team that does not have a win in all of the redraft. Everybody's got at least one. I probably open up the show like that. And I said, well, each team has at least one win in Fanatically Real Redraft. Yeah. So everybody has at least one win in Fanatically Real Redraft. We have 2 teams that are left undefeated. We'll get to them. But this has been awesome. Like, you can see the parity in the league this year. People all over the place. Just got here on the bathroom floor. Man, what is going on with you? MJ in the house. Hey, MJ, how are you? You are dedicated, man. I don't even know if I was passing kidney stones, if I would still do this show or not. Yeah, definitely feel better, man. I don't know if Jason Kelsey is dating Jake from State Farm or not. And then Damien says too many teams that are 2-2. So what we're going to do is probably at the end of next week, since we will be into the odd number week again after we finish week 5, we're basically going to have to start being on playoff watch at that point. Because remember, everybody that is above 500, which because we have an odd number of games, 11 games, it means you're 6-5 or better, will make it to the big playoffs in the regional ones. So next week is pretty much halfway through the season, basically, and an odd number week. So we're going to have to start doing playoff week at that point. All right, let's move over to the Gold Dragons region. So the Naughty Dogs not only put up the most points in the Gold Dragons region, but they also had the largest margin of victory win in the region this week with a 79-point win over the New York Jackets. Final score there was 200-121. Here are your standings right now. Pay attention to those top 2 teams that are on there, the Naughty Dogs and Monarchs, because that's going to have a big significance when we come back and talk about the power rankings here shortly. Bye weeks are starting. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the show as I talk about what we're looking at in week 5. So yes, that is a thing. They are finally upon us. That's going to be rough for some teams. All right, let's move on to the Hydras region. Creek Dogs suffered their first loss of the season. Turd Ferguson got that win. I love that name. Turd Ferguson got the win 184-173. With that loss, the Creek Browns slide down to the number 2 spot in their regional standings, and Turd moved up to number 1. Yeah, it's true. The bye weeks are going to start to separate the teams. Yeah, look at you in the basement. You really are down there at the bottom too. I feel bad every time I have to type something in for you right now. That's all right. It's year 1 for you. You're trying to learn a new thing. You'll be better in year 2. I promise you will be. Yeah, bye weeks definitely. I go back to Damien's comment here. They're definitely going to start separating these teams. All right, let's move over to the Scorpions region. So the Horny Toads also took their first loss of the season. They lose to Brady sits down to number 1. I believe you're still out there. Final score there was 188-125. So congratulations on getting that win. Here are your standings right now in the Scorpions region. Remember, this is the one region we had the tie in, so that's why you see a little bit funny looking standings there. It's a whole new ball game this year. You're not wrong. You know, it's not only, and he's still out there, Ringgold's still out there. You're not wrong. It is a whole new ball game this year. The new system, we put in the IDPs, the 7-on-7 with the kicker has been massive. I started working on an Excel spreadsheet the other day. I don't know how far I'm going to get into it. Maybe that'll be something that I can do over the next couple of weeks. More to follow on that when I talk about it in just a second. Where I'm going to start looking at probably not by individual positions as far as linemen, linebackers, or DBs, but just IDPs overall and what kind of points they're putting up. Yeah, man, I'll tell you about that in a second. I know you weren't here probably last week when we talked about it. Insane, man. And might even been the week prior. It's all kind of blended together. Jason says he's happy to be at 2-2. And really it was the 2-2 teams that got me thinking about, like what Damien just said a little bit ago, was too many 2-2 teams. But they got me thinking, you know, really next week is kind of the halfway point of the season. We need to start doing playoff watch at that point. But yeah, let's go back to the tie for a second. So what happened was, and I said this last week too, when I think Chris called me out on it, and I'll put the dirty laundry out there for all of us. And in fact, not that you all want to see my face, but we will bring my face back here for just a second while we talk about this. I think it has more of a dramatic effect if you can actually see my face. So Damien, what happened was, you know how we do the points in FSA. You've been around long enough to know that we always do decimal points. You know, every yard is a tenth of a point. Every passing yard is 0.04 points. And that was the way that it was intended in the rules when they were written. You know, I keep the rules up there on the page as well. And as I was watching a game, I think it was in week 2 when I was playing somebody, I noticed that their tight end wasn't getting the points that I thought they should be getting. And I was thinking, okay, either MFL's delayed or there's going to be a scoring correction in the morning. So went to sleep, woke up the next morning, checked my phone, scoring, no change in the scoring. So I started thinking, is there something wrong on MFL scoring? Like, do I not have the settings right? And in fact, I did not have the settings right. Instead of it being 0.1 for every yard, I had it like traditionally would be 1 for every 10 yards. So if you were in the middle of a line of a group of 10, so if you had 55 yards, instead of getting the 5.5, you were only getting the 5, and you weren't going to get the 6 until you got to 60. So I found that, talked to Matt about it, since we brought the Meathead League in with us, and I really value his opinion as a commissioner. And I said, what do we do? And he said, you got to tell everybody, own it. Tell everybody you want to fix it. You're going to fix it. Do it now before somebody else notices it and before we get too long in the season. So I did it. Didn't know how many teams it was going to affect or how many games it was going to affect. Ended up affecting 3 games. I think we caught this at the end of week 2. Ended up affecting 2 games in week 1 and 1 game in week 2. So thank God that's all it was, because when you really look at it, it was 72 games in that, and in that there was only 3 that got affected. But one of those, the difference between the 2 opponents was 1 point, exactly 1 point, until we went back through and redid it all. And it ended up being a tie. And you know that I've said this for years. When we have this many players and we have this diversity of starting lineups, and we carry this all the way out to the 100th of a decimal point, the chances of there being a tie is so rare that we just leave it a tie. We don't even try to fix that. So yeah, we had a tie in what ended up being week 1, actually, when we went back through and did the correction. So that has been fixed. We've moved forward. Getting ready to roll into week 5. But something else I have noticed in all of the years when we end up having ties, usually the tied teams move on because they're able to hit that 500 or above. In this case, we actually can have a 500 if those guys go 5-5-1. Region, yeah, but this is where our actual only margin of victory game took place, and it was between the Maniacs and Chris. Maniacs end up getting that win 147 to 144. The actual margin of victory was 3.22 points. That was the closest game we had. Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was impressive. I will say that I had a moment of panic that night when I realized that maybe it was a possibility that I had the scoring wrong, because that would have made sense of why they were still missing 1.2 points. That's what it came down to from the tight end that I was playing against. And I got up the next morning and I saw it, and I wrote Matt. And, it's different having Matt being back on this side of the pond now and actually being behind me in time versus ahead of me in time. So it was nice to sit down, chat with him, figure out what we were going to do with it. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I just realized that I have my microphone super far away from me. Maybe that sounds a little bit better. So hoping that MM will not be able to duplicate the effort this coming week. Yeah. It's going to be a rough week, especially with the buys this week, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So yeah, we fixed it. I'm appreciative that everybody was good to go with it. Nobody complained. I'm also very fortunate that it only affected 3 games. And I think only one person came up on the net thinking that they rolled into a loss and they still end up getting the win. I don't think anybody else came up on the net to really say anything about it. So it was good. I don't want to get too much louder. Probably lose my voice. So, all right, we've gone through. Let's look at the link standings here real quick. Jason Trumbley being the other undefeated team in the redraft right now. So he is sitting at the top of that at 4-0. And then you can see the rest of the links that are there. Here is our power rankings. Let's talk about these top 10 that are here. So the OVC Espresso Men have moved back into the number 1 spot from the number 5 spot, meaning the Banshees are at the top of the power rankings again. Jason Tremblay jumped from 8 to 2. Turd Ferguson moved up 8 spots from 3 to 11. Last week's number 1 team, the Creek Browns, have slid to number 4. Brian Ware also slipped 2 spots from number 3 to number 5. Now, here's what I was talking about from the Gold Dragons region earlier to pay attention to this. Even though I still have these broken down of 1 through 25, if there's a tie, this is already hard-coded on the graphic that I'm using, and it's too hard for me to change it. But that number 6 spot is actually shared by the Naughty Dogs and the Monarchs in 6th. Both of them having a 1.995 power ranking right now. Jamie jumped up 9 spots from 17 to number 8. New York Jackets, whenever they got their first loss of the year, slid down 7 spots from 2 to 9. And then rounding out the top 10, the Bearcats moved from 4th down to 10th. Falling off the board this week, and I didn't put the ones that joined us because at this point we got teams going on and off, but at least falling off from last week. Dayton Calvary, Jason, you might still be out there. You fell off. Unicorn Legends fell off, and the Tonawanda Lumbermen fell off as well. Paul says, lucky number 13. I love that logo, man. That turned out really, really well. I think that was that the first one we went with? I know there was another Green Bay team that I was messing around with last year that we went with multiple looks. I don't remember if that was yours or if that was Cheesehead that we went with multiple looks before we decided on that one. But I do like that one a lot. It's of the new logos that we have gotten this year, that one's probably got to be one of my favorites. I like it's clean. We could put that on a hat. We can embroider it. You can wear it around. It's very cool. The Colorado Buffaloes of FSA. They started off pretty strong, and they've kind of faded over the last couple of weeks. And I don't even think they're in the top 25 anymore, but they are still getting votes, I saw in the latest poll. So trying something new this week. We always talk about the game of the week the following week, but it's more just lip service because it's usually me just flapping them up here. Decided to do a graphic this week, and the reason that it looks like that in these colors, it's because the OVC Espresso Men are the game of the week against Groot this upcoming week in week 5, and according to MFL, OVC is supposed to get that win with the current lineups. Espresso Men are favored by 23. And right now, this is going to be the number 1 ranked team versus the number 11 ranked team as these two face off next week. So let's get to the APFL. And I feel like that the NFC side of the APFL is always feel like they're getting slighted because they're second on everything. So I changed it this week and made sure you guys are getting up there first. Again, not really a big game of the week or a margin of victory to point out. We were back to in-division games this week in the APFL. The Angels did have the biggest win, and they have forced the Dirty Birds, one of 2 teams that are now 0-4. They ended up with a 77-point win. Final score there was 137-60. The other 0-4 team happens to also be here in the NFC side, and that is the New York Mammoths. See what we got for the comments here. What you nervous about, man? Is it because you're still passing stones, or is it because of the game? Let's go over to the AFC side of the house. This one we actually kind of had a little bit of a margin of victory win. The Cats knocking off the Forge there, 55-52. Here are the power rankings in the APFL. Cleveland Dogs still very much on top and continues to stretch that lead out. Cleveland Dogs and the Minnesota Norsemen, the only 2 teams left undefeated in the APFL. The Dogs have stretched that power ranking lead to 0.516 points. They're going to be tough to beat this year, like quietly doing it this year too. I think last year it was a big splash, but this year it seems to be pretty quiet, and they just continue to dominate. I think we're going to have to put a bounty on them. First person to take them out. Minnesota looking good as well. Minnesota with a brand new general manager, and Miami Barracudas right behind him with a brand new general manager as well. both of them number 2 and number 3. So good for the teams that they inherited, and good on the way that they are running the teams this year, that both of them are up there very well too. All right, so Damien, I don't know if you're still out there watching or not, but I hope you are, because we are moving into our first cross-conference game of the week in the APFL, meaning the AFC and the NFC will be playing against each other this week. And according to the MFL, the game of the week is between Green Bay and Las Vegas. Green Bay is favored right now by 1.71 points. So a very narrow possibility of a lead. And remember, these two teams, Green Bay versus Vegas, because that's going to play here in just a little bit. So let me get myself back up on the screen here. Let's take that off. Let me blow my face up so you all can see me a little bit better. So let's talk about the primetime results from last week. You know, this is more fun for me than anything. He said, "What a beautiful mascot." Yeah, I mean, you know what? Let's just go back to it, because you're not wrong. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, between the logo, which was hand created by me, other than the piece of cheese I grabbed from something, and then that guy. It's hard, really hard, whenever I'm doing this AI work, to come up with a mascot for Green Bay often. But that one, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So primetime results from last week went 2-1 because I got the Detroit and Green Bay game wrong. Sorry, Damien. I did pick your Green Bay, but man, Detroit dominated the crap out of them. So with that loss and being 2-1 for the year, we are 10-4 in primetime games for the year. So let's talk about primetime games coming up for week 5. So Thursday night, tomorrow night, we got the snooze fest of the Chicago Bears versus Washington, whatever we're going to call them. Washington is actually favored by 6 points right now, and you know how I love to put the hat on of the team that I think is going to win. And I'm so happy that Washington is playing this week, because I finally get to pull this great hat out that I looked around for over a year before I was finally able to get this one with the old R in it from the Redskins. Call them whatever you want. They're still going to be the Redskins to me. So I'm putting it on Washington. On this format, win probability goes up and down more than the Rock's eyebrows. It does. What you'll see, though, is it will start to – the first 4 weeks where we've played into so far really does jump around a lot. As we get further and further into the season, it really does settle down quite a bit. You'll see the same teams up in the top 25, and they just kind of shift around. You're already starting to see it as I did the graphics this week. I think it was really just I think there was 3 teams that fell off, 3 teams that got added. There might have been 3 more that made it back onto the thing. I think out of the 25, there was probably only 5 or 6 that moved around this week. So it's getting less and less. Green Bay got to learn how to play a full game and not wait till the second half to show up. Yeah, if they can put a whole 60 minutes together like that, they would be okay. I'm really impressed by Love this year. I'm glad that I ended up being able to make the trade, even though I haven't started him yet this year. He will be the guy that I put in the lineup when Cousins is off, though. I'm really happy to have him, especially in a dynasty where I can get to keep him for a couple more years. Before we talk about the Sunday night and the Monday night games, let's remind everybody that we do have another international series game again this week. Jacksonville being across the pond again for another week. I don't know if this one's getting shown on Disney Plus or not. They will be playing Buffalo. That game starts at 9:30 East Coast time. So if you've got anybody Sunday on either one of those teams, Jacksonville, Buffalo, should be quite a few people in there. We got Trevor Lawrence, got Travis Etienne, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, got quite a few people that are there. Make sure that you get them in if you are going to start them. I would love to see if it was on Disney Plus again. That was fun, right? That was cool. So I had my older daughter. She sat right here with me and watched it. The little one was kind of in and out. Plus, she had been gone for a little bit. I think she was at a birthday party or something like that and had to come home from it. What were you doing? Was it a birthday party? I don't really remember. But anyways, She came back from that. I had it on the TV, and I flipped it over with a little over 4 minutes left to go in the game on the game clock. Because I needed to find out if one of my IDP players was actually going to start or not. And both of them were upset that I changed the channel. And I've never had them sit through a game with me for that long. So I will tell you that it grabbed my kids' attention. I know Damien's kids was a little bit different story. I don't remember when you said that they all finally stepped away, but I know one of the kids said that they were a little creepy. And it's funny because my wife said the same thing with the herky jerky that all the players are doing and stuff like that. She said that was a little creepy as well. So Thursday night football, Chicago, Washington. Washington favored by 6. I'm taking them. International Series, Jackson and Buffalo, 9:30 East Coast time, a.m. For us. And then Sunday night football should be a great game. I'm very much looking forward to this one. It's going to be Dallas at San Francisco. I believe San Francisco is going to be in the NFC Championship game this year as long as the bracket plays out. Oh, no, I didn't even think about that. Did you guys have a chance to watch it in any way up there? Was it on anything else where you guys could watch it? Oh, that sucks. I didn't think about that. So San Francisco is favored by 4. Great defense on the Dallas side, great offense on the San Francisco side. I'm sorry to the Dallas fans that are out there. I'm going to go with San Francisco. I called it in the Discord earlier when somebody said they thought Philly was going to go to the NFC Championship, and I said against who? And then for me, it's got to be San Francisco. Then Monday night, this is why I told you to remember the Green Bay and the Vegas connection from the APFL. That is our Monday night football game as well. It's going to be Green Bay at Vegas. Green Bay only favored by 1 right now, which blows my mind that it's only 1. That's got to increase before game time, I would think. But I am, again, picking Green Bay. I picked them wrong last week when they were playing Detroit. I'm going to pick them right this week as they're going to end up beating Vegas. At least I hope so. And, yeah, that ends the primetime games. MJ said it a little bit ago. Don't forget, we are into the start of our bye weeks in the NFL. We got 4 teams off this first week in week 5. We got Cleveland, Chargers, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. So, again, Cleveland Browns, LA Chargers, Seattle Seahawks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure if you've got anybody in those teams, you get them off, get them out of your lineup. Yeah, and I'm hoping so because I've got him in, I think, 2 out of the 3 leagues that I'm in this year. I felt like he was playing better the first couple of weeks, kind of fell off. I'm hoping he has a good week and need him to have a good week. Yeah, that's it. So usually this is the part where we talk about when the next broadcast is going to be. So to give you a little personal update on what's going on in life, I will be traveling to Ohio on the 11th, which is next Wednesday. So there will not be a show. That drive is only supposed to be 8 or 9 hours, but with stops and traffic usually takes between 11 and 12 hours. I'm going to leave the house right when the kids leave to go to school. So by the time I get home, it'll probably be like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'll have no time to prepare for the show. Also, I'm going to have limited internet access as I'll be traveling back and forth between my parents' houses. And then I'm taking my laptop with me. All of this is done on a desktop. Take my laptop with me, but my laptop is a little old. It's ancient as far as electronics go. It's 7 and 8 years old at this point. Because of that, and because there's not a lot of hard drive space left on it, and Photoshop does this thing called scratch disks. It's basically like a temporary save of a file as you're working on it. In case anything crashes, it'll always be there for you. It's kind of like the backup to the automatic save or an auto save. And because I don't have a lot of hard drive space left on that, the scratch disks are always full and I can't do a whole lot with Photoshop. So the graphics will either be weak or non-existent. Even with the crazy internet connections, I should still be able to at least get on. It'll be just a talking head of me going through the stuff. I don't know if I'll be able to get the power rankings done like I normally would, but I'll be able to get on and chat with you all on the 18th and the 25th. That will be the 2nd and 3rd Wednesdays after next week. That's the next 3 weeks. But I will be back in Georgia on the 27th, which means we will definitely have a show on 1 November, which will be basically a month from now, I guess. So for the next 3 shows, we're kind of in question. The very, very next show, definitely not going to have one because I'll be traveling. 2 and 3, we might have a show. All right, that's it. I appreciate the 8 of you that stuck around, even with me just blabbing about that stuff here at the end. Thank you for my little assistant that sat in here with me tonight to watch me do this thing. Definitely got to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Mondo and the boys from the Recast, the official music of FSA, and thank you to Brandon Valenka, the owner of Nature Coast Tailgating and Apparel, the official apparel of the FSA. Brandon, if you end up watching this later, that's all I'm gonna say. Try to get those, and then we'll see if we can't get those on the air, so everybody can see. Thank you guys for watching the show. If you're out there watching and you still haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, which I know we've got 2 brand new people to subscribe to it recently, make sure you go out and do that. Follow us on all the social medias. I know we haven't really been on Instagram or Twitter very much lately, but we are still up on TikTok quite a bit. Hopefully, now that my follow-up from my surgery was done yesterday, hopefully I will be able to start dedicating a little bit more time. Your hand just keeps coming in the screen. Hopefully I'll be able to dedicate a little bit more time like I wanted to from the very beginning of this season. I just haven't been able to do it. Hit me up on Discord after this. I saw a couple messages coming up. I'm going to look at them here shortly. Hit me up. And that takes care of tonight. And then we will see you back on the 18th. I don't know what the show's going to look like, but there will be something on the screen for you all. And we will see you then. Everybody have a great rest of your evening, and thank you.